What's up, yo? Welcome back to another video. So, just get it started. I know that last week I missed a video. I'm sorry about that. Got a little busy, started a new job. So for those of you who didn't see, I'll be posting on my post tab in my channel. So if y'all ever want to keep up to date with me, I usually post on that at least once a week. Typically just updating you guys with either what I'm going to be posting or if there's any delays or anything like that, so that way you guys can be ahead of the game and exactly know when I'm going to be posting. But anyways, let's get straight to it. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I kind of thought about the other day. I was just going through my motions, and I was sitting there thinking as I do. Typically just think like when I'm working or stuff like that. So anyways, I was thinking and I was like, man, I wonder why so many people don't get along, right? What is the cause of that? What is the root problem of why people are so harsh and quick to judge, and why people are so closed off from other people? I've talked about it before where COVID kind of was the start of that. A lot of people, I know it wasn't like the exact start really of social media, but once like the internet became a thing, you saw that decline happen. And then once COVID kind of hit, you saw a lot of people, including and mainly my generation, really become thrown off and kind of distance themselves from the world, right? And that was just a mix of, I feel like, maybe the internet itself, social media, video games, all that kind of stuff, and just being alone and away from people. That kind of drew us away and showed us that we are able to still stay connected in a different way. And while that can be good, it's not good for us mentally, right? We need to be talking to people. We need to be, around other people, having fun, right? But, one thing that really stuck out to me was that I think, it's a tale as old as time, right? There is no doubting or disagreeing that everyone has an ego, right? Whether you choose to use and have a, and a bad ego and let go of it, kind of. It's like one of those things, if you don't water your plant's gonna die. You gotta work on it. So yeah, it's just a never-ending thing you have to work on until you figure it out, and even then you still gotta do it. So getting to what I was really trying to say to you guys. So when it comes to having like a very bad ego, right? I know I've always been pretty bad about that. Once I was kind of taking shape in my body and my face and everything, and I was feeling more confident about myself on a day-to-day basis, I started adapting a very bad ego, and it kind of led me to a place of wanting to act like I was better. And it wasn't necessarily a conscious thing I was doing, it was more subconscious. It kind of just, as I would do stuff, I noticed a lot of my things were more egotistical driven, especially just being who I am. I'm a very competitive person, so that mixed with having an ego obviously doesn't go very well. So that's just one thing that I know that a lot of us deal with, and pretty much everyone, right? Everyone has an ego, and it's just some people know how to suppress it, some people don't. I was really in a spot where I would go to especially when I was going to the gym a lot, I started getting better, like look-wise, like I would just look better in general. I was getting skinnier, I was eating good food, not like skinnier, but I was looking more buff, I looked great. And to me, I think when I first had it, I really had this ego-driven mind of like, oh, look at me, like I'm so big and I look great and no one can touch me and I'm unstoppable, right? I think truly ego is just a way that you express how you're feeling, right? I feel like a lot of the time, if you have a really bad ego, it's usually because you're dealing with something and, in your own life that someone else doesn't know, right? So it gets perceived as ego. There is a very, 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 very big gray area between ego and confidence, right? Huge gray line. Like you really can't tell, it just blends together. And people can say, oh no, it's not ego, it's just confidence, right? I used to say it all the time. There is a little distinction to it, and that I would say is perception on it, right? My next video, planning on doing a video talking about perception because it's intriguing to me. And yeah, but anyways, we'll get to that obviously another day. When it comes to having that perception, right? Sometimes when you're not having, maybe you just had a really bad week, right? Or whatever it may be. Usually it's more deep than that, but let's just say you had a really bad week and you're like, man, I just need to go to the gym, right? Like I've seen all these guys, they look so good, like blah, blah, blah. And then let's say maybe a month later, you've been going to the gym consistently and then you're like, damn, I look really good. But sometimes a lot of people will mistake that for, oh, I look great, like I'm better than everyone. So yeah, sometimes you just gotta sit back and look and be like, you know what? I'm not better than nobody. It's literally just a perception, right? It's you telling yourself, you are confident in that, this and that, right? But at the end of the day, just be confident, all right? Don't be worried about, you know, if you're better than anyone, because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. You know, you may do stuff that is better than other people. I don't like this word because it is a double-edged sword. It's iffy to me, but I do think that you should have, you know, like pride in yourself. You should be proud of yourself when you do stuff like that. I don't like the word pride. I like the word being proud, right? I know it sounds like stupid. It's like just a different way to pronounce it. But, you know, I went to a school my whole life where it was a private school, right? Their biggest motto was pride. And, you know, when like you have it out in, you know, in spelling and stuff, and it's for school, it's like, okay, yeah, whatever. But, you know, what I really realized is that it is ego. A lot of that school that I went to and the people around it didn't even realize, but what you're dealing with in that moment is actually just ego. Even something as small as that. When you're taking pride in yourself because you think you're better than all the other schools and you think this and that, you know, and they would say that too, you know, we're so much better than everyone, and I get it, it's like a school thing, but, you know, that really struck me, and I was like, you know what, that's how a lot of people act, right? Even myself. I was instilled with that kind of fiery burn to be the best, especially just my lineage and everything, but also that school and growing up in it, right? So that being said, a lot of people that I know, not a lot of people, but a couple people that I know that came from that school really had this like very big ego problem, right? And quite frankly, I'm actually one of them. It just goes to show like those kind of things, like people can make, as I said, perception, right? You can make something seem not as bad, right? You can always just chisel it off a little bit to make the edge not as sharp, right? That's what I'm trying to get at though, is like when you guys are, you know, you're sitting there and you're like, someone says, oh, you have a big ego, like blah, blah, blah. Know the difference, first of all. Confidence is just embodying who you are and being okay with it and just being happy regardless of what other people think, right? Like that should be your confidence, right? Or you're confident because you know how to do it already. Like you can go and do it again, right? But ego is like projecting the fact that you can do those things and flaunting it to other people. That is pretty much ego, right? Or just acting in a condescending manner, right? You kind of act like you're just better than everyone, and you can just tell by the way you talk, by the way you act, right? The things you own can even show off your pride, right? Or your ego. It's things like that. The people who internalize those kind of things, those are the people with real confidence. But that ego is that thing that just keeps biting at you and telling you, hey, you should tell everyone how good you are at this because, you know what I mean? So yeah, you know, there's nothing wrong with sharing stuff with people, but don't act like you're the best to ever do it. Keep that up here, okay? Have a level head, right? Don't be too much this way or that way, right? That's just what I want to get out to you guys today, because honestly, that's something that I know every single one of you watching this has dealt with or is dealing with. And second of all, don't be afraid to admit that to yourself, okay? It's only you, right? Look yourself in the mirror like I'm doing in this camera right now, right? Just tell yourself it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to not be perfect because no one is. So it's okay to sometimes look at yourself in retrospect and be like, wow, why was I doing that? Why am I doing that? You know what I mean? Like, let's figure it out, because that kind of stuff is just not needed in this world, and it doesn't make the world a better place. Obviously, don't do that. Now, if you're just someone who doesn't care, well, best of luck to you, pal. But anyways, just want to give you guys a little insight on that, because I think that it is very important for my men growing up out there, especially my men. Some of you women even deal with that, all right? Everyone's got to chill with the ego, okay? No one's better than nobody, and that's just where I'm going to leave it at, right? I'm not trying to get too into it and pick sides or whatever, but I appreciate you guys for watching. But just remember that at the end of the day, you're not better than anyone else. So just lock in, work on you. Tell yourself sometimes, look in the mirror, right? Dissect the problems that are going on in your life and how can you fix them, okay? Without distractions, right? No music when you're sitting there thinking, right? No TV, no phone, right? Like, keep yourself isolated and really break down. I know it sounds stupid and pointless, but you'll really learn a lot about yourself when you sit in silence and you sit there and think, okay? That is why meditation is so good, right? Not just because you're sitting still and letting your body just flow like a plant, right? Like, not just that. It is because of what you think about and what you can achieve up here when you do it. Just remember that, okay? Maybe try that out if you need to, if y'all got some ADHD or whatever. Try to just keep the lights dim, right? Maybe it's a little bright over here, but yeah, just dim them. Noise canceling headphones, go for it, but usually best to just do raw dog, no headphones, no nothing, okay? So, but yeah, I love you guys so much. And I'll give you guys a little update, but from now on, I'm gonna keep these in my posts, like I said, so make sure to check that tab. I usually post like on Mondays or Tuesdays, or maybe even the weekend, just usually a couple days before I'm gonna post. The next couple months, whatever, you know, it's summertime, I did a poll on my post. If you guys are seeing this, you can go vote on that too. I will give another week. I'll say by next Sunday, have decided exactly what I'm gonna do, but I left it up to you guys. What do you want to see more of? You guys can go check that out, go drop a vote. But anyways, I love y'all very much. Thank you for watching this video, and it would help me out a lot if you guys would subscribe and drop a like, and I will have you guys a banger next Thursday. Probably will be a vlog, so make sure y'all lock for that. Thank you so much.